Hi, I'm Natalie, 25, and living my best life in New York City. I've got a sweet gig as a marketing exec, and everything's going pretty well, except when it comes to family. That's where things get complicated. My parents split when I was a teen, and it was rough. But my sister Olivia and I, we're solid. She's a few years older, but has always been my rock. We've got this unshakable bond. Then last month, my dad, Richard, dropped a bombshell. He's got a new girlfriend, Vanessa. She's 35, closer to my age than his, if you catch my drift. The first time I met her, something felt off. It's so nice to finally meet Richard's daughters, Vanessa said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. He talks about you all the time. I forced a polite smile. That's great. He hasn't mentioned you much, though. The tension in the room was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. My dad cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. Well, it's still new, sweetie. He trailed off. But before I could process the awkwardness, Olivia burst in, squealing, I'm engaged. She flashed a massive ring that looked like it could be seen from space. Suddenly, it was all about the wedding. And me? I volunteered to help plan the whole thing, not just because I love Olivia, but because it gave me a good excuse to avoid more awkward dinners with Vanessa. One afternoon, as Olivia and I were knee-deep in flower arrangements, she nudged me. So what do you think of Vanessa? I hesitated. She's different. I don't know, something about her just rubs me the wrong way. Olivia nodded slowly. Yeah, I get that vibe too. Have you noticed how she's always hovering around Dad? It's like she's got him on a leash or something. Now that she mentioned it, I had noticed. Dad seemed smaller somehow, less like himself, but I shrugged it off. Maybe we're just being overprotective, I said, though I didn't quite believe it. Weeks passed, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off with Vanessa. Dad was changing, and not in a good way. One night, I called him to finalize some wedding details. Hey, Dad, got a minute? Now's not really a good time, honey, he mumbled. I could hear Vanessa's voice in the background, sharp and demanding. Richard, who is that? We're in the middle of something important. It's just Natalie, dear, wedding stuff. Just Natalie? Since when was I just anything to him? Tell her you'll call back later, Vanessa snapped. Dad sighed. I'll call you back, okay, sweetie. The line went dead before I could even respond. I stared at my phone, a knot forming in my stomach. What was happening to my dad? And why did I have this sinking feeling that Vanessa was at the center of it? But maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just pre-wedding jitters getting to all of us. Finally, the big day arrived. I was up at dawn, nerves and excitement battling inside me. This was Olivia's day, and I was determined to make it perfect. I rushed to the bridal suite with an armful of last-minute essentials. Olivia looked stunning in her dress, though I could see the nerves in her eyes. You look amazing, sis, I said, giving her a quick hug. Thanks, Nat. I'm so glad you're here. As I helped Olivia with her veil, Vanessa sauntered in, giving me a once-over. Oh, Natalie, that dress is interesting. I suppose it works for your figure. I bit my tongue, forcing a smile. Thanks, Vanessa. You look nice, too. The ceremony began, and as maid of honor, I stood in my place, trying to stay focused. But out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Vanessa, phone in hand, furiously texting. She kept leaning over to whisper to the person next to her, causing a disturbance. Can you believe this tacky decor? I overheard her say, and don't get me started on the bride's dress. My blood boiled, but I held my tongue. This was Olivia's moment, and I wasn't about to ruin it. But things only got worse at the reception. Vanessa was downing champagne like it was water, getting louder and more obnoxious with each glass. I was chatting with some cousins when I overheard her slurred voice. God, this family is so provincial. Richard could do so much better. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I marched over to Vanessa, trying to keep my voice low. Vanessa, can I talk to you for a second? She sneered at me. What do you want? Look, I know you're having fun, but could you maybe tone it down a bit? This is Olivia's day and… Oh, spare me, Vanessa spat. You're just jealous because your daddy loves me more than he ever loved you or your pathetic mother. I saw red. That's enough. You need to show some respect. Crack. Before I knew it, Vanessa's hand collided with my cheek. The sting was immediate, but not as painful as what followed. She grabbed my dress, the sound of ripping fabric echoing in my ears as she screamed, Who do you think you are? The room fell into a stunned silence, and then chaos erupted. People were shouting, trying to pull Vanessa off me, while I stood there dazed. Then I saw my dad, Richard, pushing through the crowd, his face a mixture of confusion and anger. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded. I opened my mouth to explain, but Vanessa got there first. "She attacked me, Richard. Your daughter is out of control." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, that's not true. She—" I saw it, Natalie. He cut me off, his voice cold. "You provoked her. I'm ashamed of you, ruining your sister's wedding like this." My heart shattered. I looked around, searching for anyone who might support me, but all I saw were shocked faces and judgmental stares. Olivia stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, torn between comforting me and salvaging what was left of her wedding day. I couldn't take it anymore. With my dress in tatters and my cheek burning, I fled the reception hall, running past a confused valet and into the cold night air. Tears blurred my vision as I fumbled for my phone, calling for an Uber. As I stood there waiting, the weight of what had just happened crashed down on me. My own father had taken Vanessa's side. He believed her lies over me, his own daughter. The betrayal cut deeper than any slap ever could. When the Uber arrived, I climbed in, a mess of tears and torn tulle. "Where to?" the driver asked, concern in his voice. "Anywhere but here," I choked out, and as we drove away from the venue, from the disaster that was supposed to be a joyous day, I felt utterly and completely alone. For days, I holed up in my apartment, ignoring the countless calls and messages. The betrayal stung worse than Vanessa's slap. How could my dad choose her over me? Finally, Olivia's name flashed on my phone. I hesitated, then answered. "Nat, God, I've been so worried. Are you okay?" Her voice broke something inside me. "No, Liv, I'm not okay. I'm so sorry about everything. I should have handled it better." "It's not your fault," she sighed. "How was the rest of the wedding?" "Honestly, a mess. Vanessa caused a scene, and Dad, well, you know. Nat, I'm worried about him. Vanessa has him wrapped around her finger." That got my attention. "You've noticed it too." "Yeah, something's not right with her. The way she acted at the wedding. It's like she wanted to cause drama." A thought struck me. "Liv, what do we really know about Vanessa?" "Not much," Olivia admitted. "Dad's been pretty tight-lipped." That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about Vanessa didn't add up, so I did what any self-respecting millennial would do. I Googled her. At first, nothing seemed off, but then I stumbled across an old news article, "Vanessa Moore sued for fraud by ex-fiancé." I dug deeper. Another lawsuit, another wealthy man. A pattern started to emerge. Vanessa had a history of latching onto rich men and draining them dry. I needed help. That's when I thought of Mom. We hadn't been close since the divorce, but if anyone would understand, it would be her. "Mom, it's Natalie. I need your help." We met for coffee, and as I spilled everything, her face grew increasingly concerned. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Your father, he's always been easily manipulated by a pretty face." "I don't know what to do, Mom. Dad won't listen to me." Mom hesitated for a moment. "I might know someone who can help. An old friend, Mark Thompson. He's a detective." A few days later, I found myself sitting in a dimly lit diner across from Mark. "So, Natalie," he said, sipping his coffee, "tell me about this Vanessa." I laid out everything I'd found, and he listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes. "You've done some solid groundwork," he nodded. "But there's more. Give me a few days." True to his word, Mark came back with a bombshell. "Your Vanessa, she's got quite a rap sheet. Fraud, identity theft, and get this, she's currently involved in a real estate scam. A big one." My head spun. Does my dad know? Unlikely. She's good at covering her tracks. But Natalie, be careful. This woman is dangerous. I tried reaching out to Dad, desperate to warn him, but he remained distant. "Natalie, I don't want to hear it," he said firmly. "Vanessa has been nothing. You need to let this go," my dad insisted, but I couldn't, not when I knew the truth. I needed a plan, a way to expose Vanessa without putting myself in direct danger. That night, I paced my apartment, my mind racing. How could I bring her down without confronting her face to face? Then it hit me, her current scam. If I could find proof and get it to the right people, she'd have no way out. I called Mark. I need your help with something. I'm listening, he replied as I outlined my plan. A mix of excitement and fear bubbled inside me. This was risky, but I had no choice. I had to try for Dad, for my family, and for the other people Vanessa might hurt. You sure about this, Natalie? Mark asked. Once we start, there's no going back. I took a deep breath. I'm sure. It's time Vanessa faced the consequences of her actions. With Mark's help, I compiled a dossier on Vanessa's fraudulent activities. We anonymously tipped off her former victims and the FBI about her ongoing real estate scam. It was like lighting a match and watching the flames catch. Within weeks, the FBI launched a full-scale investigation. I kept my head down, throwing myself into work, and the distraction paid off. I landed a huge account and earned a major promotion. Amidst all the chaos, Olivia called me with some happy news. I'm pregnant, she explained. For the first time in months, genuine joy bubbled up inside me. Liv, that's amazing. I'm going to be an aunt. As the investigation into Vanessa heated up, my dad started reaching out more. Natalie, sweetie, can we talk? I miss you. I kept my responses short. I'm busy, Dad. Maybe another time. Then came the night that changed everything. Dad insisted on a family dinner to clear the air. Reluctantly, I agreed. We were halfway through the main course when the doorbell rang, and suddenly the room was swarming with FBI agents. Vanessa Moore, you're under arrest for fraud and money laundering, one agent declared. Dad's face went pale. What? There must be some mistake. Vanessa's mask finally slipped. Richard, do something. She screeched as they cuffed her. I locked eyes with her. Game over, Vanessa, I said, my voice steady. As they led her away, Dad turned to me, realization dawning on his face. Natalie, I am so sorry. I should have listened to you. But I wasn't ready to forgive him. You chose her over your own daughter, Dad. That's not something I can just forget. In the weeks that followed, Dad tried to make amends, but I kept my distance. I needed time to heal, to process everything that had happened. A year later, life looked very different. I was thriving at work, leading my own team. Olivia had given birth to a beautiful baby girl, and I was the proudest aunt you'd ever meet. As for Dad, he was facing his own troubles. The fallout from his association with Vanessa had hit him hard, both financially and legally. We were civil, but the closeness we once shared was gone. And me? I was stronger than ever. The whole ordeal had taught me valuable lessons about trust, self-worth, and the importance of standing up for what's right. Family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who stand by you, who believe in you, even when everything seems to be falling apart. With my chosen family around me, I was ready for whatever life threw my way next. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that I'm a lot tougher than I ever gave myself credit for. So here's my question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven your father for siding with Vanessa, or would you have kept your distance like I did? It's a tough call, right? Family loyalty versus self-respect. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you do. And hey, if you enjoyed this roller coaster of a story, hit that like button. It helps more people find and enjoy these real-life drama tales. And if you're into more stories like this one, consider subscribing to the channel. I've got plenty more where this came from, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.